They were TV's most unconventional family, an experiment in love, religion, and polygamy. Today, however, Sister Wives' Brown family is in shambles. What began as a tale founded on sisterhood and unity has disintegrated into a maelstrom of emotional distance, favoritism, and heartbreak. Christine led the way, opting for freedom rather than being invisible in her marriage. Janelle wasn't far behind, not wanting to live as a second-class citizen anymore. Mary, the original and legally wedded wife, had been emotionally abandoned long before she was finally divorced. And Robyn, the so-called obedient wife, now stands alone as Cody's sole remaining spouse. But at what cost? For over a decade, Sister Wives lifted the veil on polygamy. But now it uncovers something far more sinister. What occurs when control, resentment, and inequality seep in and quietly destroy a family from the inside out. I'm Emma, and welcome back to the show, where we break down reality TV's most dramatic stories and explore deep into their emotional core. If you're as shocked as we are at the Browns' downfall, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single update. And if you have opinions, emotions, or favorite moments from this season of Sister Wives, leave them down in the comments. We're reading all of them. Now, let's get into how it all fell apart. When Sister Wives first appeared on the air, the Browns were a cohesive unit. 4 women, 1 man, and a common agreement that love wasn't shared. It was multiplied. Christine, Janelle, Mary, and eventually Robyn all appeared to handle the polygamous lifestyle with fortitude and poise. They sat shoulder to shoulder, raising their children, standing up for their decisions in the face of a doubting world, and affirming that their union would not be shattered. During those early years, they laughed together, relocated between states to keep their families safe, and had frank discussions on jealousy, managing time, and individual development, sketching the picture of a contemporary polygamous family defying the odds. But the cracks? They were present all along, just slight enough to disregard. Cody's tone began to change. Where previously his leadership had felt protective and equal, it increasingly came to feel rigid, self-serving, and unpredictable. Time with every wife grew increasingly apparent. Fairness appeared to evaporate. Christine's cheerful, vivacious nature was frequently responded to with aggravation. Janelle's strong independence found her feeling lonely. Mary was always kept on the periphery, on the outside, looking in. And Robyn? She was always the exception. The one wife Cody fiercely guarded, protected, and gave highest priority to. It wasn't long before viewers began asking tough questions. Why did Cody suddenly distance himself from Mary after her catfishing scandal, but display endless empathy towards Robyn? Why did Christine feel like she had to beg endlessly just for a little attention? Why did the family of 5 begin to feel like a monogamous couple in disguise? What had seemed like unity in the past was, in retrospect, a precarious balancing act, one that was never constructed to endure forever. Up next, the breaking points. The wives, one by one, started questioning the very life they had once devoted themselves to, questioning whether remaining was even worth it anymore. For Christine Brown, the cracks were becoming harder to ignore. What had originally been a nurturing and loving setting gradually became one filled with loneliness and emotional disregard. Fans keenly observed as Christine, mom of 6, increasingly appeared less happy, her formerly bright and optimistic personality dissolving with the passing years. The earliest indications of Christine's increasing frustration appeared in subtle forms. Small group interactions in which she raised concerns, only to be greeted by silence or dismissed responses. She became the wife most likely to call out Cody, criticizing his leadership, his behavior, and the disproportionate emotional energy he devoted to each of his relationships. One of the most telling moments occurred when Christine finally spoke to Cody about the sexual lack of intimacy within their marriage. Years of feeling emotionally and physically ignored as Cody's attention continued to increasingly focus on Robyn. Christine shared how draining it was to invest in a relationship that was heartbreakingly unbalanced, how her needs were consistently rejected or disregarded. In confessionals, she openly discussed her hurt, her yearning not only for intimacy, but for connection and genuine recognition. "It's like he's emotionally absent," Christine confessed in one tearful confessional. Her words spoke volumes, but Cody wasn't paying attention. Christine's discontent only grew louder when Christine realized that Cody was usually too preoccupied or dismissive to actually hear her out. She began questioning her worth within the family unit. No matter how hard she tried to maintain a sense of togetherness, Cody seemed not to care about repairing what had been damaged. Her breaking point came when the family had to make important decisions regarding their living situation. Cody's emotional absence during those meetings, especially where her needs were concerned, only confirmed the painful reality. The family she had battled so hard for no longer felt like home. In one especially tearful confessional, Christine revealed, "I'm tired of feeling like I don't matter to him." Leaving wasn't something Christine did impulsively. It followed months of emotional distress, agonizing moments, and an unbearable feeling of not being heard. Leaving Cody and the polygamous family she had initially defended so vehemently was a turning point that would forever alter the course of events. Coming soon, Janelle's story and her own encounter with the breakdown of the Brown family. Janelle Brown, who for years had been considered the practical and stable force in the Brown family, was the final one to fully confront the extent of the dysfunction that had progressively deteriorated their polygamous lifestyle. A quiet stalwart and a family loyalist, Janelle always managed to create the appearance of balance. But post-COVID, cracks finally became too hard for her to disregard. It was amidst the turmoil over their housing situation and the growing rift in the family that Janelle came to view the situation with clearer vision. The housing fallout became a turning point for her. With the pandemic derailing every facet of existence, the Browns' vision for a joint multi-household community became a collection of disjointed, broken decisions. Cody's inflexibility and glaring bias in favor of Robyn made living with him impossible for Janelle. She had been willing to be the compromising one, conforming to the ever-changing living arrangements of the family for years. But now, it was too much emotionally. Cody's choices left her feeling. Janelle felt more and more alone, and her children, once fully integrated into the family framework, were now starting to feel the pain of Cody's inconsistent treatment. She began questioning it all: her place within the family, the regulations that Cody imposed, and the way those same regulations only made the walls between them higher. Watching Christine stand up for herself and eventually leave Cody had a profound impact on Janelle. It made her reflect on her own needs and what she truly wanted. In interviews, Janelle opened up about her growing sense of independence. "I've been putting everyone else first for so long," she confessed. "I need to start thinking about what's best for me, for my own happiness." Her increasing connection with Christine, who had already taken the courageous step of walking away, only strengthened her realizations. The two women had long enjoyed a close friendship, but now that bond grew even stronger. Christine's act of leaving and taking care of herself ignited a spark within Janelle that nothing else had. For the first time in years, Janelle wasn't centered on keeping the family intact. Rather, she started wondering about what a family ought to be, one constructed on equality, respect, and true mutual care. She was no longer able to ignore that Cody's emotional distance and stringent rules were the very things dismantling the family. Janelle's awakening was slow, but incredibly powerful. She understood it was time to finally choose herself. Her path toward independence was only just beginning, and the Brown family dynamic would never be the same again. Coming up, Mary's struggle with loyalty and the painful truth about her place in the family. Mary Brown's journey inside the Brown family has been one of deep emotional isolation mixed with enduring hope. But slowly over time, she was gently edged aside, emotionally abandoned not only by Cody, but by the family at large. Her romance with Cody had been strained for a long time, but the now infamous catfishing scandal revealed just how fractured things actually were. After becoming a victim of a mean online scam, being duped by a catfish impersonating a man, Mary was left reeling from the emotional damage. She had been susceptible, crying out for contact outside her marriage, But Cody's response wasn't one of sympathy. It was one of anger and, rather than reacting in understanding, Cody responded in anger and betrayal. Though Mary tried to fix the damage that had been done, the emotional rift between them had already been established. Cody's distance became increasingly evident, and his refusal, or inability, to sort out their problems drove Mary further into emotional isolation. In confessionals and interviews, Mary repeatedly tearfully expressed her hurt, openly discussing her strong desire for closeness, for connection, and for an actual feeling of belonging in the family. She had always been the one determined to remain faithful, the one who continued to cling, but it became increasingly apparent that Cody was not exerting the same effort. For years, Mary held on to the belief that she could fix her relationship with Cody. She made countless efforts to re-establish their relationship with communication, affection, and persistence. But each time, she was greeted with indifference. Cody's emotional absence was a reality Mary could no longer ignore. There were raw moments when Mary expressed her heartbreak, uttering such things as, "I feel invisible," or "I'm just not a priority anymore." And yet, despite all her devotion, Cody remained aloof. His emotional disconnection from Mary only deepened with the years. He made it quite plain. He had emotionally distanced himself from her, even while Mary was struggling to maintain the love and attention she so desperately craved. It was tragic to see such a devoted person, so committed to fighting for her marriage, met with chilly rejection time and time again. In her interviews, Mary conveyed a silent but unyielding sadness. She had given all to the family, yet she was still left wanting for something that never was. Her emotional isolation became a fact that no hope, patience, or effort could reverse. It was agonizingly clear that however hard she tried, her loyalty was no longer sufficient to span the huge and widening gap between her and Cody. Next, Robyn Brown's path, from Cody's newest wife to his top priority. Robyn Brown's trajectory in the family, from newcomer to the wife who would become Cody's first priority, is still one of the most debated and contentious changes in the Brown family dynamic. When Robyn first entered the family, she was full of excitement and new energy. There was a new spark, a sense of possibility. But over the years, something did shift. Robyn went from being the new member to the wife who. Robyn later seemed to be the sole person who had a working relationship with Cody, and left the rest of them feeling ignored, neglected, and put on the sidelines. The change in family dynamics was further noticeable as Cody's preferential treatment of Robyn became increasingly difficult to avoid. The other wives started to notice that Robyn's house and her demands were always put first at the expense of theirs. Whereas Christine, Janelle, and Mary struggled to have any actual relationship with Cody, Robyn appeared to have a subtle, almost unspoken sense of privilege in the family. Her house was the go-to place for family get-togethers, and Cody's eyes were obviously on her, leaving the other wives to quietly wonder where they stood in his life. It wasn't so much a matter of where gatherings took place, though. It was how differently Robyn was treated in general. Robyn's adherence to Cody's rules, her position as mother to his youngest children, and the special treatment she was accorded all contributed to a building sense of resentment. Manipulation and control accusations began to circulate. The other wives started to complain about their frustrations, referencing the glaring double standards. Cody would go out of his way to accommodate Robyn's requests, while the other wives felt unsupported and disregarded. During times of sheer honesty in the interviews, Christine, Janelle, and Mary each professed how strongly they felt about being unfairly treated compared to Robyn. Christine specifically did not hesitate, bluntly accusing Cody of showing favoritism and even going so far as to claim that Robyn was employing her power of persuasion to manipulate Cody's judgments into areas not of the greatest benefit to the family as a whole. As the wives came to realize what was truly going on, the tensions between them mounted. Their shared vision of polygamy, founded on unity, equality, and sisterhood, was disintegrating, giving way to division, mistrust, and deep feelings of betrayal. Cody, for his part, appeared to wave aside the accusations, usually attributing their worries to jealousy or mere misunderstandings. But the truth was undeniable. The cracks in the Brown family were only deepening, and Robyn's rise to a position of blatant favoritism was at the center of the continued collapse. To the other wives, it wasn't just about who Cody spent more time with. It was about a betrayal of the values they had once vowed to live by. As the tension in the Brown family reached new heights, as tensions in the Brown family boiled over, Cody's attention became increasingly focused on shaping the narrative. Throughout the subsequent seasons, he labored to advance his account of events, attempting to rewrite history so that he would be portrayed more positively. Whether it was through interviews or those notorious group couch sessions, Cody was relentless in positioning himself as the victim, claiming that the family's downfall was something completely beyond his control. He would frequently blame the wives, and especially target Christine for her departure. It was increasingly clear that Cody wasn't really interested in seeing things from their point of view. He was more interested in manipulating the story, controlling how it was going to be told, and playing the victim. Perhaps the most telling moment was in the last of the family meetings. As Christine articulated her frustration and justified why she was choosing to walk away, Cody's defensiveness was palpable. Instead of expressing anything genuine in the way of empathy for her suffering, he continually shifted the issue back to himself, blaming Christine for leaving the family. His failure, or refusal, to recognize Christine's years of emotional abandonment was a watershed moment in the disintegration of the family. At one especially memorable moment, Cody blurted, "I'm not sure I'll ever get over this," when talking about Christine's leaving. But even then, his feelings were all about his own loss, not about the long, intense suffering Christine had endured. The consequences were catastrophic. What had once been portrayed as a close, cohesive family was now nothing more than a shattered remnant of what it had been. Cody's need to be in charge and his refusal to take any responsibility sealed the fate of the family. The emotional aftermath, particularly after Christine's departure, took a toll that would forever change everyone involved, announcing the end of the Brown family as fans knew it. Reminiscing on the Browns' long and tumultuous ride, there's no way to ignore the emotional devastation wrought by years of favoritism, imbalance, and unmet expectations. What was once a revolutionary model of an alternative family model ultimately collapsed under the burden of unspoken pain, developing resentment, and a desperate hold on a story that no longer could conceal the reality. The emotional price tag for Christine, Janelle, Mary, and even Robyn is a stark reminder. Even the most visible families can break down silently behind closed doors. Relationships tend to have pain hidden behind closed doors. Christine's courage for choosing to leave, Janelle's later realization of her worth, Mary's private struggle with emotional loneliness, and Robyn's conflicted role have all contributed to this painful tale. But what about you? Do you believe the Browns ever stood a chance at preserving their family? Or was their fate always sealed? Leave your comments and personal experiences below. We read all of them. And if you're a new subscriber or haven't yet pressed that subscribe button, now's the ideal time to join our community. Keep watching as we keep going deeper into the highs and lows of reality TV's most memorable families.